wouldn't.
Yeah.
I shut your channel down maybe because I don't like you, but I
Well,
wouldn't
Pride
shut.
Pride
Wait a
Month.
minute.
Your month will be here soon. Pride Month is coming up.
Oh, don't get me
You'll
started
get
on
that.
Pride Month, Jill.
You'll get all the
Please.
attention you need.
I
Okay.
don't want the kind of attention I get on, people we get on Pride Month. Fuck you.
You've got about 60 different uh different classifications, right? Albino. You should have to pay for anything.
Oh, come on,
You're right.
the joke's getting a little bit tired.
You shouldn't have to pay for.
I'm such a
You should walk
minority.
into
I'm more of
you
a,
should walk in,
I'm more of a minority than you are.
you walk into the
Like,
grocery store and say, "I'll take that. I'll take
I'm a
that."
minority of a minority. All right, you know what?
Exactly. Yeah.
Get back to the argument you were having.
The only thing you're missing is the woman part, right? Oh wait,
What the
I'm sorry.
fuck?
I'm sorry. Wait. You can identify it. I'm sorry. My fault.
Okay,
You
chill. I don't identify as a woman despite me using avatars. Okay, so fuck off.
I'm just playing. I'm just messing with you.
Okay, so I think there's multiple attestations, more than 3 witnesses to present the idea that Moses was different from both where he came from and from those he was being raised by. That he was highly intelligent, so we can't say something like, well, he just didn't notice. That doesn't really make sense. And that it's that then the Exodus and why he leads the people is because he realizes that he comes from that kind of animal, but he's well above them, and the whole prophecy of taking Herod's throne and all that, to me just screams of and the huge difference and the fact that I know you could say something like girls weren't mentioned and women weren't mentioned normally. But what the text actually reads is that there was 3 years where there were only males born, and those got wiped out, and Moses escaped that through an unpredictable act of his mother, which I think was only gestational mother, not genetic mother. But because of all that and the multiple attestations, I think this is talking about as Adam grew up, you could say it that way. These things happened with him.
Well, there's no clear-cut answer in the Bible as to when Moses knew he was not an Egyptian. I mean, obviously, I would say for just looking at today and dealing with parents who adopt children, they know, but they don't really know. So they might have an idea, hey, I don't really belong here. I don't really fit in. But it might have been his mother who finally said to him, you know what, you were adopted. So that's how he knew. I would say more than likely that's how he knew.
Well, that's fine, I suppose. It doesn't really change anything, though.
But it wasn't because he saw that his skin was darker, because I believe there were dark-skinned Egyptians, light-skinned Egyptians. Even the Bible says that a mixed multitude came out of Egypt. So obviously it wasn't just one color. And then Moses was the only albino. And it's like, wait a minute. He's
I thank you for using that, Jill. Call back.
What are these things? Does it belong here? Remember that on Sesame Street?
That's not the lyrics of that jingle.
Oh, I'm sorry. You remember that?
It specifically went like this. One of these things is not like the others. One of these things is not the same. That's how it went.
Wow. Nostalgia here. What the fuck is going on?
And yes, that was 40 plus years ago since I've seen that, but that's exactly how it went.
That's midnight when he walked into the first day of kindergarten.
What the fuck?
He'll take a certain amount of abuse and take it as humor, but at some point the joke will get old,
Yep.
No, we love all people from every tongue, tribe, and nation, because that's who God loves. He accepts everyone.
Amen.
So
Since everyone accepts homosexuals, I just wanted to bring that up. I know that's not the part of the conversation, But
It's
the
also
extent
not
that-
accurate.
Well, according to Jill, it is.
It's
So
also
obviously
not
that's
an
what Jill said.
That's not an identity. Please stop making your sexual quote unquote orientation an identity. It's not.
I
Never
wasn't
was.
trying to take an identity.
You
Well,
better
we were
take
talking
and run
about-
with that midnight. That was the most forgiving you're going to hear him on that topic.
Yeah, fair enough.
We,
Go
we were
continue.
talking about people's identity, and you said, "Oh, what about homosexual? That's not an identity. That's a behavior."
You know, talking about the interplay between identity and behavior is such a complex topic that we cannot do it justice here. Nor do we want to get into it. So forget I said anything.
That's true. That was deep. I let it go at eating rocks. I was like, okay, we're getting somewhere. Because before I started this, I was watching a similar argument between Darth Dawkins and some other guys too.
Oh yeah, Darth.
What was the argument there?
Oh, I don't know. It had nothing to do with that. It just had something to do with I can barely even remember now. Been doing so many things. He was talking about. I'd actually have to look at it at this point. I just remember that it had
actually.
Okay. It was kind of funny. It had something to do with just the rocks. Made me think of it. He was talking something about an infinite number of rocks, or I don't know.
Okay, I have a quick criticism for you. You're calling yourself Rape Ape, but your avatar is not purple. Sorry, Richard.
But to agree with Richard, which is rare, I would argue that it was Pharaoh's daughter who recognized that this was a Hebrew child. So there was something different about him, but not necessarily that, when he grew up, a child doesn't really have an idea of those sort of social constructs. Or
Wait, if Moses was
but
so
she
different,
saw a baby and said, "This is a Hebrew child," so that would lend credence to your argument, I guess.
But then, if the princess was able to figure it out, why didn't better kind of? But if the princess was able to figure it out, why didn't anyone else figure that? They just
Well, they knew. I don't think, but she was the
so-
Pharaoh's daughter, so there was nothing they could do. What are they going to do? They're going to,
I mean, I'm pretty sure the Pharaoh outranks his daughter. So if he
Yeah,
wanted,
well-
he could have really killed Moses while he was a
That's the
child.
way I think about it. Midnight. That's exactly how I think about it. In fact, if you read the story carefully, which Midnight you don't have any cause to, I'm just saying that it had you. You might have noticed that she doesn't ask Dad for permission. That's nowhere in the story. And then she finds a slave girl and asks the slave girl if she can provide a nursing female,
nursing, yeah.
right? As like a midwife, what is it, a wet nurse? They call it a wet nurse, right? So it says to this slave child, "Can you find this female slave child?" Says, "Can you find a wet nurse?" So the child goes back and gets her mom, and she's Moses' older sister. He gets Moses' mom to nurse him. So that sounds
Without
like she's
knowing?
avoiding people.
Wow.
It sounds
Without
like she's
knowing that,
avoiding
wow.
people finding out. Certainly
Yeah.
within the Egyptian community, there were some wet nurse, right?
And they were Hebrews, by the way. They were
Stop
slaves.
that. You don't know that.
Yeah, it says from the Hebrews to nurse your child. So there were Hebrew midwives, there were Hebrew concubines. So there were intermingling, mixing going on.
No, that means they weren't
long
mixing.
before Moses
If you
arrived.
go from outside of the castle to find a wet nurse, it's because you refuse to mix.
But so you don't think that the Pharaoh had servants, and you think that he
Of course
enslaved
they had
his?
servants.
Okay, then, and they were
Why do you have
people
slaves?
who, right? They were people who were from the Hebrew tribe or that
That's right.
culture. Okay,
The slaves.
so you
would have
don't
been
think there was any
Hebrews. That's right.
hanky panky going on here? I mean, this is not like the Jewish.
I can't say something like that. There are occasions of that, but what it creates is something that is either another slave or a complete outcast, depending on the society you're talking about. It's not normalized and everything's cool. It's just not like that.
Yeah, I think
Like there's no
amongst the royalty, yeah, they
there's
might
no
have.
half breed. There's no situation that I know of where a half breed slave master society and slave society creates a half breed, and that half breed is just accepted into the master society. I know of no such thing.
Well, maybe amongst the elite, no, but amongst the commoners, I don't see.
No,
I
not
mean,
even
even
among the commoners, Jill.
Oh, come on,
It doesn't
man.
seem
oh,
like you understand human nature at all.
well,
Just
you're
wanted to say that.
speaking. Yeah, I
Which
guess
is
that's
funny because you're
personal. But
black and you do know this from actual history that there was actually a big problem in our society with people that were like half, and they had
yeah,
derogatory terms assigned to them like mulatto, and
right.
it was bad. It was like the worst thing you could be, and yet you think that the
They still
mulatto
existed,
children
however.
of the United States should have been immediately accepted into the elite white society. I don't know where you're getting this. That doesn't
They
happen
were.
in reality.
They
They
were.
were
They were
not.
accepted. They were accepted before the darker skinned were actually.
Are you
That's
high?
No,
true.
Like,
Yes, they
honestly,
were.
Jill.
no.
Yes, they were. In fact, there was something they called a brown paper bag test. And if you were darker than that brown paper bag, you were not accepted into the club. So, yes, they did accept the lighter skinned. It's true. Look it up. Okay, you know this history better than I do, Mulatto. Okay, so
It doesn't apply to me, you idiot. I'm not a half breed.
you know his look it up. It's called the brown paper bag test. So the darker skinned, the true Africans, the ones who were actually, and some of them were native, some of them were descendants of people that actually were indigenous. They weren't all from the boat, from Africa, but they had a test, and they test whether or not you'd be allowed in the Royal Society based on. That's why when you look at all of the so-called bourgeois and all of the individuals, they're all light skinned. It's
Okay, I know
W.E.
what
Du
you're
Bois,
talking about, and I
Booker
know
T.
you're right.
Washington.
But
Right.
I think you've pivoted. I think you've slightly changed what we were actually talking about, and maybe that's indicative of a poor communication between the two of us to get to the same place. So maybe you're doing it honestly, and maybe you're not.
Oh, no, I'm just saying that Moses may have been one of those, individuals who probably could have fit into both societies.
Fair enough. Fair
He,
enough.
he was
But
light enough to be accepted by the lights, and he still knew that he had maybe he had a wider nose, like maybe he could see that he
actually, it would
had
have been
some
a
of the
narrower
features.
nose if you were part slave. You'd have a narrower nose, actually.
Okay, but not as narrow as the Pharaoh's daughter or the Egyptian, or not as So there were probably some distinctions that he could see. And when you look at a sermon that's mixed today, you see that they have both features. They have the lighter skin, they have the blue, the lighter eyes, but then they might have the wider nose. Then right.
Have
So
you
you can
ever seen
say,
any statues of any pharaohs or people in the ruling class from back then? Have you ever seen any of those statues? Because they look
the
like
Sphinx.
they look tall, thin, athletic, large lips but flatter, not
Right.
sticking out very far, and their noses were kind of large for their face, but
Yeah.
their noses weren't exceptionally, their nostrils weren't exceptionally large.
Right.
That doesn't look Jewish.
No, I'm not saying it does. I'm saying Moses
Does
may have
look
had
North
those features.
African black. Oddly
Okay.
enough, that
But
kind of makes sense by geography.
you're comparing the Jews who mixed Europeans to the Jews then, or the Hebrews then.
No, I'm talking about North African blacks. North African blacks look like Egyptians. Egyptians look like North African blacks.
Okay.
And I've been over there recently, and yes, there's been a lot of intermingling since 3,000 years ago ish. But in your paradigm and understanding of the Bible, this would have been happening 3,000 years ago in Egypt, right? Or 5,000.
This
or
would have been
maybe even
happening for
6.
10,000 years. It would have been,
Fair enough.
Intermingling. Yeah.
Fair enough. But 10,000 years ago, if you think, well, how long? Let me just ask you, when do you think Moses lived.
I personally think that to even go back even further, that Adam and Eve were genetically wired to produce all of the different types of groups or ethnic groups.
Now, is
So I
that
believe they were
just in the
front-loaded.
argument, or did you miss the question?
No, I'm just saying, just to cut the in the bud and go back to the very beginning.
No,
Because I believe in Adam and Eve.
what we call
They
cheating.
were front loaded. It's not cheating. They were
It is
front
cheating.
loaded
You're
to
avoiding
include.
it.
I'm not avoiding it. I'm saying that eventually you're going to get different types of ethnic groups. Eventually, if you keep breeding or keep interbreeding.
Of course.
Okay.
And the genetic load or breadth of genetic code in Adam and Eve can be as broad as possible, create all the ethnic groups. I got no problem with that. Not what I asked you.
You asked me about Moses, who is part or descendant of Adam, and Moses' mother, who is also a descendant of Adam, and whoever Moses' father was, who is also a descendant of Adam. I've seen on YouTube two.
I would love to see those genetics.
I've seen. Well, I mean, there's an argument because I've seen just from observation two dark, almost blue. They were so dark. Give birth to a white baby, and no, she was not committing adultery.
So
and the baby
if she gave
comes
birth
out.
to a white baby, doesn't that mean the baby's
Yes.
albino?
How? If both of them are black, like the mom and the father are black.
If both of them are black and they have a white baby, it can only mean the child's albino because both parents need to have the mutated allele for albinism.
So that's genetic.
Yes.
Okay. So I would say the same thing is the case for the same thing can happen in this setting.
Because we're way out of the conversation by now. So the actual question was, when did Moses live on the earth?
I have a date, but
approximate.
I don't know.
By the way,
you don't know.
By the way,
could have been yesterday.
I'm sorry if I'm derailing the conversation at all.
It only was yesterday.
Oh no, midnight. As far as I'm concerned, keeping things interesting.
Okay, that's good. I don't want to. Never mind. But yeah, go ahead.
In my opinion, even albinos have a right to speak.
Well, thank you, Richard. I love you. Platonically, of course.
I identify as an albino.
Jill,
okay, fine.
Don't even joke like that. Okay, there's a link. Richard even said before, it's funny until it's not.
No, what's wrong with that? But
it just gets
why
old.
Can't I identify? Why are you discriminating? Why are you being a homophobe, racist?
And now you've officially taken too far, buddy. Buddy Pines. Mr. Incredible Boy. I don't know.
Okay, well, Richard wants to know when Moses existed. I don't know.
Yeah, most Christians think that Moses existed on the earth as an actual physical person, something between at least 6,000 to 3,000, something like that, somewhere in that range, right?
I guess you can. That's fine if that's what you want to. What are you getting at?
My point is, it was a very different time, and today's more progressive thoughts about things like skin color, it just wasn't the place and time where that happened. And
are you familiar with the story of Jacob and Esau?
Aisha here. What's that?
Are you familiar with the story of Jacob and Esau? The color that Jacob or Esau was compared to his own brothers. He was ruddy red, right? These are fraternal twins or what's a paternal? I don't know. So yeah, that can happen. I think that can happen genetically.
It's either paternal or identical.
Oh, right,
Those are the two options.
paternal. They were paternal.
Sorry,
I think.
mom was a medical professional. I know that's not your field. It's fine.
No,
But
paternal, right? Because one was born and then another one came out of him, right?
right.
Or were they born at the same time? I don't remember the story. I have to go
Well,
back and look.
Esau. Okay, according to the story, Esau was almost drugged out of the womb, having a hold of his brother's heel.
Okay, so Esau came first.
No, he had a hold of the heel of his brother. I'm sorry. Do I have the names backwards? I do have the names backwards. Esau was first, and then Jacob. Jacob is the heel. Means heel catcher.
Right. He was grabbing on. Don't leave. Don't leave. Yeah.
You're my only friend in here. Don't leave the clubhouse. Yeah.
There were two different colors. One, the Bible just says that Esau had a color that was almost red.
Yes, ruddy. Yeah,
Ruddy
that's
red, right?
term.
Which is a darker type of skin, right?
Darker? No, it means redder.
Okay. As opposed to what color was Jacob?
Not that, apparently, or else there's no comparative.
Right. Yeah. So they were different.
They don't say. But it does say that Esau was more ruddy, more red. Yeah. Which is fine. I mean, I can live with that. I'm not albino, but I'm kind of a pink person. Like you see me in a photograph with other humans, even my own family, I look really pink. It's weird.
So you think he was just more like maybe a blushing type of pink or red?
I don't read it the same way that you do at all. I think that everything you're saying can be justified in church traditions, and you're reading the Bible. I don't read it the same way. I don't think it means that at all.
Maybe he was Native American.
I don't think it means that at all.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, Native Americans would ruddy would be a good example of that. Would be Native Americans. Not that all of them are exactly the same, but they're reddish brownish. They are.
Yeah. And William Freeman, I think, is Native American, right?
I don't know. I didn't think that William Freeman was even able to do anything but type in the side chat right now, and I didn't think he was on panel to defend himself.
I'm gonna call him Eagles Flies. That's your new name, William. Eagles Flies. Eagle Flies.
That's a horribly clumsy English attempt at an Indian sounding name that they would never use. If he were
Flies with eagles, much better. Flies
Eagle
with
Flies.
Eagles.
No, Eagle Flies.
No, mine's better.
You know that problem with the word Beelzebub? That same problem that you just did? We have that same problem with Beelzebub. Like, how scary is it for something to be the lord of the... Well, flies are annoying, and some of them are even biting, and they're kind of a pest. But to be lord of the flies is like being the lord of a low, useless thing.
So it's really referring to birds, right?
And I think Beelzebub actually means the lord of those that fly.
Yeah,
it's a much scarier right? thing, by the way. No. The intelligent beings that fly.
Oh,
not birds.
So that excludes Jill. Sorry, I had to.
Yeah, I don't fly.
Mephistopheles is not your name.
So you think that's referring to flying demons?
Yes, exactly. I think he's the lord of the flying demons. Yeah, which is a lot scarier than bugs.
Oh yeah.
Which gives the whole new meaning to Lord of the Flies.
No, that's what it
translation.
Meant. Yeah, Beelzebub. In the movie, there's a movie that came out.
You could say it that
There's a movie that came out back. You guys might remember Left Behind, and the Antichrist.
It was trash. The movie was trash.
No, it
The
wasn't
books-
trash. Your movies are trash. Our movies are
It was made
actually
for
correspond to
Christians.
something in history,
Okay, cool.
unlike your movies.
Specific to an
And-
audience.
At the end of the movie, the Antichrist reveals who he really is, and he said, "Beelzebub," and then he turns into this flying demon, and he flies away. He flies away and starts burning people
look.
with his dragon
Jill,
breath.
Jill. I will give you that there was one series that actually did the Rapture really well. It was called The Leftovers. I love that series. I just never got a chance to watch the third season.
Which channel was that on? HBO? What was that?
I don't remember. It was on some channel. It was very good. There was so much suspense in it. Like, what the fuck is going on? It's like I gotta watch that show again. It was so good. Like, holy shit.
William Freeman, if you made a comment and then you commented on your comment, and the original comment that you referred to was, quote, "It is symbolic of the evolution of tribal to the agricultural," and we were talking about Jacob and Esau, and that would mean that the tribal was represented by Esau, followed by the agricultural represented by Jacob. This is a very, and I'm not saying that's necessarily poor for any reason. I actually somewhat appreciate some of the insights of Jordan B. Peterson. This is very Jordan P. I can't even say it now, tongue twister, of you.
Sound like poor pig for a second there.
No. He sounded like me.
See, but I'll just
Yeah,
quit
I
and
think
move
they
on
think he
and
did.
assume people understand what I'm saying instead of just struggling. I'm just not going to do that twice.
Hey, Tom.
Hey guys,
Peace and
Talk.
I
Peace
guess
and
you guys
respect.
kept my seat
Talk,
warm
my
while I was
brother,
gone.
from another mother. You're a brother.
I am a brother.
Yes.
I'm a backstabbing brother.
Okay, well then fuck you.
Okay.
Back tug.
Do you know Lucifer created you, Tog? According to Richard Madsen.
I mean, you create
How
yourself.
many times can you get that
No.
wrong?
No trade secrets.
But
please. No
Lucifer
trade
created humans.
We
He said he
spent,
created.
Jill, we spent 3 minutes. We spent 3 minutes at least talking about the false association
Satan.
that I
I'm
believe
sorry.
you have between. Yes, thank you.
Satan.
Not
Satan
Lucifer.
created. So Ace believes that Satan is going to heaven, and we should love Satan. Richard believes that Satan created us. What's going on in
You
this
know what's a
world?
weird thing for Ace to say is
You
that
got it right. Thank you.
he's saying he acts like Lucifer hasn't been to like heaven. Like there's a whole reason why he was cast down. It's not like the dude's never been, right? He used to be on God's payroll. Then one day he's like, you know what? I think you could do it better. Go fuck yourself. And he's trying to do it better.
What?
It's that
That's the
simple.
Gen Z version of the Bible,
Yeah,
ladies and
right.
gentlemen. That's the Gen Z translation. Go F yourself. I
mean,
got this.
Ultimately, that's
Bro.
what the wilderness does. It doesn't give you shit back. You have to make the land work for yourself. It doesn't give you anything. That's why the
Speaking
wilderness
of
is
Ace-
related to
You know-
all of the demonics.
You know, I mentioned it in the happy chat yesterday, but I noticed P Town was on Ace's stream yesterday, right? So
Yes.
I go in.
Yes.
So hold on. So I go in, right, talk to P Town for a bit, and rather than Ace allowing me to stay on stream muted, he put me backstage. I don't know what I did to Ace. I don't know I don't know whether it's just me, but I don't think he likes me very much.
Yeah. He
No.
doesn't really like you. He doesn't like you because you're albino. Go ahead.
Jill, what did I
Tell us why.
now?
Report him to YouTube. Go ahead. You know that's your next move
You know what?
Report him to
Forget I
YouTube.
brought it up.
because you can't defend your albinoism. You're just gonna use cancel culture. So go right ahead.
I'm gonna stop talking
But-
now.
So